Good evening and welcome to another IADC update. This evening, like promised last week, we said we will come back to the lab to introduce you to the other folks here and to what they are doing here at the laboratory. Last week we looked at the concrete section of this lab and we spoke to the concrete specialist as to exactly what they do here. This evening we are going to focus on asphalt, aggregate and soil testing, which are among some of the several things that they do here at the lab. We do have the soil specialist on hand and he is going to give us just a small showing of what they do, and we will also speak with Mercedes, who is the lady in charge of the lab, and she will focus on asphalt and aggregate testing. So come with me as we go inside the upstairs of the lab here at Argyle and check out what they're doing in there. Okay, we're inside the lab here at the Argyle International Airport project site, and with me I have Raimundo Perez. He is the soil testing specialist, and I believe they will have a more technical term for that name, and you will tell me in a minute. So this is Raimundo, and we have the translator for today, Natoya, who has been assigned to the lab to help with the translations here. Good evening and welcome to the IADC update. Raimundo, could he just give us the proper name for his position, please?
He's a lab and field specialist.
Okay. Now you are charged, you are the soil expert here, and you are charged with ensuring that whatever soil is being used here at Argyle is tested first. That's correct?
He says that yes, he's in charge of the all the soils that are used here in the construction. He's in charge of classifying the soils and determining the use according to the function that they would be playing here in the construction.
Okay. Why is there need for testing the soil?
Porque se hacen ensayos de suelo.
Para chequear en obra.
He says that it's necessary to know the behavior of the soils in the lab and also on site on the field. You need to know the density, the humidity, and all of the other characteristics or properties that this soil have, so you can better know it and make better use of it in the field.
Sí, bueno, nosotros
he says that we have here with us two Vincentians that they're very good. They know the soils, the test very well, and that at this moment they're going to do a soil granulometry test.
Okay, so the Vincentians are going to do the test and demonstrate for us?
Yeah, there we have one.
Okay. Now, where did they learn to do these tests? Right here in the lab?
Fue aquí en el laboratorio.
yes, here.
Okay, that is a yes. Right, so that is good. So when you would have left St. Vincent, we have Vincentians who can carry on this work if we need them, right?
He says that after he thinks, yes, that the two Vincentians that are here, they can carry on with the experiments after he has left. The one that's here, he's equipped in doing most of the lab work and so on. And the other that is here, he's more equipped in doing the field work and so on. So yes, they are equipped in doing the job when he left.
Okay. So this is one of the two, and he's the one who's going to give us a demonstration this morning, right? Can I ask your name, and don't be shy. What's your name?
Dario, Sam.
Dario Sam?
Yeah.
What part of St. Vincent are you from, Dario?
Stubbs.
You're from Stubbs. Very good. You're right in the neighborhood. And your boss here has been informing us that you can actually carry on this thing here by yourself when he's gone. Are you happy with your achievements so far?
Yes, I'm happy.
Are you happy you came to the IADC to work?
Yes, I'm happy.
All right. And you're leaving with a skill whenever this project is over. What are we looking at and what's happening here?
What he's doing, he's washing the soil to eliminate all the materials that would have passed through the sieve 240. He says that the material that is retained in this sieve, it will be dried in an oven until the next day, and afterwards he will do the granulometry analysis to see the composition of the soil and the classification.
We are going to get the head of the lab now, Mercedes, to talk to us about the asphalt and the aggregate testing aspect of this lab here at the IADC. And remember, everything is being done here for quality control. We have to make sure that we have the best of everything to use in the construction of the Argyle International Airport. We have been joined by Mercedes Rosal. She is an engineer and she's the chief technical person here at the lab. She's in charge of basically everything, even though we have experts, but she has to ensure that everything is done according to the standards that they have set for themselves here at the lab. Where we're standing here is where they actually do the aggregate testing, and she is also able to help us to walk us through what they do for the asphalt testing. We are going to start with the aggregate because we have some samples here. I don't believe we have any asphalt samples, but she will still talk to us about it. Mercedes, good evening and welcome to the IADC update.
Good evening.
She understood that. Previous to the arrival of the stone crusher, what we basically did was soil testing in the small lab over there. Now that we have gotten to this stage of the project, we have had to expand the lab to include asphalt, aggregate, concrete testing, in addition to the soil testing. So this is kind of new to us, the aggregate testing. Why are we testing aggregate?
We have to test it to see what the properties that it has.
Okay. Now, for those of you who are watching the program and you're wondering what aggregate is, the non-technical mind like me, we don't use those terms regularly. The aggregate, I would call them, the small stones that they crush from the crusher, and they have different sizes, and they refer to them as different grades. This is what they test to ensure that this material, when it is placed on the runway or it is used in the asphalt, is really the best material to be used. Okay, so Mercedes is in charge of that. Exactly what is involved in aggregate testing?
She says that the aggregates test include checking the aggregates for contaminants. We also do the abrasion test. We also do the granulometric test to know the decomposition, the different sizes that it has. We also do the elongated and rounded aggregate test as well. We also check the trituration of the aggregates, and also we check the sand equivalent. That is also another test to check for contamination. All these tests are important to determine whether the aggregate is good when we are doing the asphalt mix design or when we're doing the concrete mix design.
If the aggregate is no good, what do they do with it?
Si el agregado es malo, ¿qué se hace? She says, in reality, the aggregates, they are neither good nor bad. What we normally check is that we check the properties to see if it is good for concrete or if it is good for asphalt. And in the case that it's not good for asphalt nor concrete, we have to adjust the dosification so that it can be used in those asphalt and concrete mixes.
All right, thank you very much for that explanation. Now, when you're testing the aggregate, what are some of the steps that you go through?
Que hay que ir a tomar la muestra al campo.
The first step is to take the sample at the crushing plant. The next step is that the technicians, the Q1 and also the Vincentian technicians, they prepare the samples to do the testing. She said the first test that is done is the granulometric test or the sieve test, sieve analysis test. This test, the sieve analysis test, is done mainly by by this Vincentian technician that you see here, and he's very equipped in doing these testing.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Kemuel Walters.
Kemuel Walters. And have you worked in a lab before?
No, I haven't.
So you're learning on the job?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
It's sieve analysis, where we use different gradings of.
It's sieve analysis. Okay.
Yes, sieve. Where we use the different gradings of these sieve to, well, normally we test different fractions and run them through the different
I know you want to show us all of this.
So we collect the sample from the crushing plant.
Let me come back over here.
And then we'd reduce it to a size that is testable according to the standard that we go by. And then we pass them through the different sieves according to the standard also. And then the fractions, normally you have aggregates retaining in each of these sieves. Those are what we would go by. The results that retain and those that pass through is what we go by to see the different gradings, if the crusher is doing a good job in this delivering, or should say the disperse of the gradings of the stones, if there are too much of this size or too much of that size. So depending on the results of the sieve analysis, they would go through with the base of the runway and the sub base, and yeah.
Okay, so the sieve analysis is a very critical part of this aggregate testing. Once they come through the sieve analysis and you determine where they can best be used, is that the end of the testing? Let me ask Mercedes that. Is that the end of the testing, Mercedes?
En asfalto, por ejemplo.
She says that that's not the end of it. There are other tests that is done. For example, the long and the flat and elongated test, which is done to determine the amount of elongated particles and flat particles that are in the sample. If there is too much of one or the other, it cannot be used.
Y ancho, pues la piedra es larga y alargada, aplanada.
She said at this end you measure the length of the particle, and at this end you measure the width of the particle.
Okay.
Después, cuando se reúnen todas, las que según la cantidad de material, se pesa y se halla la cantidad de planas y alargadas que tienen material.
She said afterwards you weigh the amount of particles depending on whether it's long or elongated, and you measure the elongated particles according to the amount that the sample has.
Okay, and why are we measuring these samples?
He said because it's important to know the amount of long or elongated particles that is present in the sample that is to be used on the base or the sub-base.
We heard Kemuel talking about it must be done to standard. What standard are we talking about? What standard did it work towards? The American standard, ICAO, or?
They use the ASTM, the STM test, which the Institute for Airports specify that all airports that are going to be constructed, we must use this standard, and that is the standard that we use in the testing and in checking for the specifications.
We also have another area in which we work, which is the asphalt. Now, can you tell us, a lot of us are familiar with the asphalt that we throw on the road to pitch the road. This asphalt that we are using at the airport, on the airport strip, the runway strip, is there a difference? And if there is, what's the difference?
She said, yes, it is different from the asphalt that is normally used. This asphalt that we have here, it carries two layers. It has a semi-dense layer and a dense layer. The semi-dense layer is used in the inferior layer, which is less dense, as the name specified, than the other layer that is placed on top. The other layer that is placed on top is more durable, it's more dense, and it can last longer and so on.
Okay, thank you very much. If you can just give us quickly a rundown as to the tests that you do for the asphalt.
The most important test that we do here is the first thing we have to verify the asphalt itself that the company buys to actually make the asphalt mix. Then the next thing we do is that we do the mixing of the asphalt and we verify its stability and its deformity and all of that. Then the next step is to test the asphalt that is actually being prepared in the plant for these same properties, for deformation and for stability.
Okay. Now, just so you know, if you haven't been following, we have all three plants on site. We do have the stone crushing plant from which we get the aggregate. We have the asphalt plant, and we also have the concrete batching plant and endless soil on the project. But before anything is used in any area, be it in concrete, asphalt, or the aggregate itself, samples must come here to the lab to ensure that they're tested and that we meet the required standard that's been set by the American Institute. And we do follow it to the T. If anything from, as you have heard from Alejandro last week, you've heard from Mercedes, if anything is not up to scratch, we start again. There are some cases where we have to discard certain things, we discard the material, and we start again to ensure that what we're actually using is the correct thing and the thing that meets the standard that we are working towards. I thought it was important to show you what is happening here at the lab so that Vincentians on the whole know that we are not just doing things by guess here at the airport, that we are working to particular standards and everything is being done to ensure that we have the best project that will last a long time at the end of the day. Join us again next week. We'll have another update for you. Good evening.